So Friday we talked about volume. Volume is how much space you can put inside an object. What does surface area mean? Do you know? Area.
Area of all the sides.
Yeah, it's just the area of all the faces. If I wrote that here. Oh yeah, look, I wrote it right there. The area of all the faces of an object. Oh my goodness, I didn't hide it from you. So here's what I want you to know from this. Some of these, I think it's worthwhile to memorize these formulas because maybe it'd be harder to think about it. But for a prism and for a pyramid, if you remember that surface area is just the area of all the sides, you don't have to feel like you have to memorize a special formula. Because for me, I would just know the front and the back, they're going to be the same area, right? Like this front and this back. I need to find a box. If I wanted to find the surface area of this, do you agree that this and the back side are the same shape? They're congruent rectangles. So I could just find the area of this and double it. And the same thing for these two sides. Are these going to be the same area? And the same thing for the top and the bottom. It always works that way. All right? So I'm going to give you the formula from the book. And if you want to use this formula, it also always works. But there's a lot of formulas in this chapter. So if you just remember, oh, I could just find the area of all the sides, that's also going to work. Okay? So we'll kind of do it both ways as we go here. But they say the formula that will always work is the surface area, which you're using T for surface area.
I don't understand random letters.
T meaning total surface area. But you could write SA if you want for surface area. What do you think capital P stands for? Look at the picture. The perimeter of the base. So they say you take the perimeter of the base times the height. So if you think you're going to forget what that means, perimeter of the base times the height, which is what connects it, plus 2 times capital B, which we talked about on Friday, is the area of the base. Is that going to be quicker than going around all the faces like I just did? Probably. But I'm not going to lie that I don't know the last time I actually used that formula. Like I just actually find the area of the rectangles all the way around. Or triangles, whatever it happens to be. Because I always forget that you can just take the perimeter times the height. And basically what that's doing, the perimeter times the height, that's giving you the 4 sides. If you take the perimeter times the height, it's giving you those 4 sides. And then that's why 2 times the base gives you the top of the bottom. I do too. But. Yeah. All right, a regular pyramid. What does a regular pyramid mean? Yes?
Regular is kind of like the ones in Italy or wherever they are. Like we like to say like pyramids. They like to say like the base is like all the same.
The base is a regular polygon. All right, so the base is going to be like a square, or the base will be an equilateral triangle. All right, and then notice there's this little cursive L. That stands for the slant height. That would be the height of the slanted side of the triangle. All right, I wish I had mine. Capital P still stands for the perimeter of the base. The L stands for the slant height. And then the 1/2. So again, could you just find the area of each of those triangles and add that to the area of the base? Definitely still works. But you still have to use the slant height as your area of the base. So that's where the 1/2 comes in. But instead of them doing it 4 times for the 4 triangles, that's where the perimeter comes in. And again, we're going to try it both ways in a minute and see if we get the same answer. So as long as it makes sense to you, you can use this formula, or you can just look at the shape and find the area as we go around. Now these other ones we might have to think a little bit. I wish I wouldn't have had you all destroy those shapes that we made last week.
Oh, what about your clear ones?
What about my clear ones? Oh, let's just think. What did the cylinder look like before you made it? Like when it was just laying flat. Do you remember what it looked like?
It looks like 2 circles.
2 circles.
And then like this flat out piece of paper.
Yeah, they kind of look like this and it has a little tab on it, but it basically kind of looks like a rectangle, right? Do you remember that? The rectangle? If you folded it around? So if we wanted to find the surface area of this, definitely we need two circles. What's the formula for area of a circle? R squared, we need two of them. So I'm not going to touch this yet, but I think we're going to need 2 pi r squared plus, what would the dimensions of this lovely rectangle be? I'll do the easy part. This will be h, right? Right, but what would the length be if this circle is what's going to sit on top of it? Like, how long would this have to be so that that circle sits perfectly on top of it? The same length around here, right? And what? The circumference. And what's the formula for circumference? Or 2 pi r, right? To me, that one makes sense. This is a formula that makes sense to me. I'm going to take the rectangular part, which is 2 pi r times h, length times height, and then 2 of the circles. So I think that's what's here. 2 pi r h, that's the rectangle part, plus 2 pi r squared. And if you forget that, think about that shape that you cut out. For the cone, again, we definitely have a circle, but we only have one circle. So that's going to be pi r squared. And then what about the cone? What was the shape, the other shape on it? Do you remember? That's kind of weird, right? It's going to have to do with this little L here again, this slant height here. We cut that one out, so let's just look at that one. Pi r L, again, that has to do with the half a circle. Remember what you said? And then pi r squared gives us our base. These two, like this one, I feel like you just have to memorize that. Or if you know the cylinder, maybe it makes a little sense that you only have 1 pi r squared. Yes?
We have to know the surface area for our test.
Yes. Well, you have to know how to find them, whether you use these formulas or whether you just kind of think about it. Does that make sense?
So we have to, like, if you don't want to think about it, then do we have to memorize those?
Yes. And a sphere is 4 pi r squared. And again, we could talk about where that 4 comes from, just like in the volume, it's 4/3. That 4 comes from the fact that 2 cones fill up 1 sphere, so that's where 2 comes from, and then the height is the same as 2 radii, so that's where the other 2 comes from. 2 radii, 2 cones, 2 times 2 is 4. Again, I think you just kind of have to memorize that one. This is my least favorite section of the chapter so far, just so you know. Surface area. All right, let's do one. I think it's easier once we do it. I like the cylinders and the cones, and the spheres easier because to me I'm just using those. But I picked one of each, right? We got a pyramid, we got a prism, we got a cylinder, and we got a cone here that we're going to try to work these out. It's just a really flat cone, very wide circle.
Is that 5 or 6 number? 6, correct? 2B? Yeah, it's a 6. Okay, wait, are you talking about the pyramid?
This is a 6, a 5, and a 4. Okay. You not read that on your paper either? Oh yeah, it's kind of mush. Okay, so let's do the formula, and then let's talk about what if you forgot the formula on the test. The formula says, and this says surface area and volume, but we did volume on Friday, so I'm just going to do surface area. The formula says we can take the perimeter, right, times what? The slant height?
Yeah, half the perimeter.
Half the perimeter times the slant height plus the area of the base. Capital B stands for area of the base. Capital P says perimeter of the base. So the perimeter of the base would be what? Yeah, 6 times 4 is 24. The slant height would be 5. And the area of the base would be 6 times 6, 36. Notice you never use the actual height in there, viewers. Do you see that? because it really has nothing to do with the surface area. The outside part. Definitely has to do with how much it holds in it, but you don't ever use it when you're just talking about the outside parts there. So 12 times 5 is 60 plus 36, I think would give me 66. And if we're talking about area, just kidding, 96. Come on, Dave, give me a break. What if you forgot that and you didn't remember the P and what, I don't know what to do there. It should work if you just take the area of each one. Since it's a regular pyramid, are those 4 triangles going around it the exact same triangle going all the way around? So you could take, Garrett, do you have a question? Oh, sorry, okay. You could take 4 times the area of one of those triangles. So if I look at this triangle, I still have to use a slant height because the height of that triangle is 5, even though it's slanted, right? So 1/2 times 5 times 6. You see where this comes from then? They're going to get this. It's exactly what we're doing. They're just shortening it up by saying do the perimeter. But if you just take 4 triangles times the area of one of them, plus the base, which is 6 times 6, you're going to get the same answer. So for me, the pyramid, I don't ever remember the 1/2 PL. Like, I just actually do it, but I get the same answer. Like, I'm still going to get 30 times 2 is 60 plus 36 is 96. Okay? So don't feel super overwhelmed by this formula, because I feel like if you understand what surface area means, you can do that one. You could also do the prism. If you understand surface area just means find the area of all the faces, you can just figure out which faces are the same, or you can really do 6 of them if you want.
Why do you get 6 times 6?
Because the base is this square. So this is 6 and this is 6. So the area of the bottom part is 6 by 6. And notice they only gave us surface area of a regular pyramid. Like, all the bases are going to be, I don't think they're going to be anything but a square, because they really talks about finding, well, I guess it could be an equilateral triangle if they gave you enough stuff there. All right. Eventually, way down the road, we can find areas of, like, regular pentagons and hexagons, but that's like chapter 12, and this is chapter 1. Okay? So I'm going to skip to 2B here, or not to be.
Terrible.
I missed the first one.
Yes.
Remember me.
Zip it.
Wait, seriously?
You could break it into triangles. Maybe. Hexagon. Yeah. Maybe. Trapezoid. You could just trapezoid in there. But there's actually a formula that we'll learn about. So again, we can use the formula, which uses the perimeter, but you could also just say the base is a rectangle that's 10 by 5.2, and the top is going to be the same. So you can take 2 times 10 times 5.2 plus, aren't both ends going to be the same? And you can take 2 times 6 times 5.2. And what haven't I counted yet?
The other ones.
Which are the other ones? I did the top and the bottom, right? I did either end. I'm going to call it the front and the back, like this part, which would be 2 times 10 times 6, 10 by 6. And that's how I do surface area. I was just talking to what's her name? Mrs. Sumter about this, and I said I really am not looking forward to teaching all these formulas today, just because I feel like I'm leading you astray, because I'm telling you to use these formulas that I don't use. And so I said I'm just going to tell them how I do it, and if they want to use the formula, they can use the formula. But to me, we memorize a lot of stuff in geometry class, and this is a formula that I don't memorize. I just do this. I don't even know the formula. You have to tell me what it was. the perimeter times the height plus 2 times the area of the base. Is that the formula I just gave you?
Obviously.
No, I just memorized it because we just wrote it. That's the only reason. I didn't have it memorized this morning when I came in here. And I just want to show you get the same answer. So the perimeter would be 2 times 5.2 plus 2 times 10 times the height, which is 6, plus 2 times 5.2 times 10. And you should get the same answer on both of these. Does that make sense of what I'm saying about you can use the formula or you can just use the area of the faces? I like the area of the faces. That's how I always do it, but I don't know. It's like sometimes my brain it reaches its maximum capacity for memorizing things. Do you ever feel like that?
That's terrible. That's terrible.
I'm just typing this in all at once, so let's hope it works. 286.4. Both ways. All right, so you just have to pick which way makes the most sense to you. As you so delicately put it, if you don't want to think about it, we just need to memorize the formulas, and that's true. But then you have to memorize the formulas. Or if you can just think through it, then you can just do those. The same thing for the cylinder and the cone, except for I think maybe those would be worth, if you're going to memorize something, those would be the worth memorizing. Hopefully it makes sense that we would do 2 circles, 2 pi r squared, plus 2 pi r h, which is the height here, and then that's how long that rectangle would be if we pull it out. I think another reason I'm not a big fan of this is because we're just plugging in numbers. I actually like solving things, and where are the x's in this, right?
In Texas.
I would recommend on the test that you show me what you're plugging in your calculator. Like, show me this step. Because if you get it wrong and you don't show any work and I don't know where it came from, you're going to lose all your points. Whereas maybe you have it right, but then something went wrong and you typed it in your calculator. I like to call that a calculator malfunction. Usually the user malfunction.
No, calculator.
But my calculator said
Realist.
your calculator only does what you tell it to do. So.
Well, maybe mine's rebellious
You need a
teenager.
sign that says that here. See, it looks like it posted.
What?
Your calculator only does what it.
Oh, it's true. I drives me
Maybe
crazy
you
when
could make a sticker.
people blame. I could make a
Just as they complain, put the sticker on the paper and walk away.
288 pi. Again, I know your book's doing decimals. It's okay if you give me the exact answer, but that's like 904.8 square feet. There really is a lot of use for volume and surface area. That's why we do it. Outside of math class, that's probably what people use most. In businesses, they try to make objects that use the least amount of material, but maybe hold a certain amount, and so they try to design shapes for holding stuff, right? Like think about making the bottle for this. Like there's a lot of thought that goes into it. There's a lot of math that goes into it. I wanted to hold this much. I want to make it for the least amount of money. We call that maximizing profit, minimizing costs.
I kind of feel like though that also computers play a big role in that, like how it's kind of pain and stuff.
They do. They do.
People have to design computers.
So people have to program the computers and do all that. Yes, someone has to do that part. But yes.
Not me.
This company buy the computers, so they do that kind of work. Why do you use your hand?
Because it's easier. It does like this, it's like
how
this.
I use my hands.
But if I do this, it's a lot bigger.
Jeez. Whoa. Wait, so how
And it knows. It knows my hand is trying to erase, which I think is super cool.
then try to write?
It won't. Like it won't. But it recognizes that it's an eraser. Wait, now it's not doing it. It won't do that either. It only does it if I do this.
Then for like second with your finger.
Whoa! All right. You guys are not concerned about the math today, which you need to be.
We're not.
We have a test this week.
What if you're just like laying up against it, like with your whole body just
Yes, I'll do that in a minute after we do this. This is one I think you need to just memorize as well. Hopefully it makes sense. Pi r squared is the circle. Pi RL is the wraparound part, which again, the actual height doesn't come into play on a pyramid or on a cone. So pi times 15 squared plus pi times 15 times that slant height, which is 17. 225, is that right?
Why are you touching me? Quit.
480 pi, which is like 1,500. I'm just gonna round that up to 508 because it's 7.96.
All of it.
Questions about that?
That was so weird. Whoa, got me.
Oh my god! I'm so glad. I'm so glad I can entertain you.
Are those your children up there?
No. It's just a question.
Oh, I saw your children at the game. They have their little like slushies or
Oh,
whatever.
yes.
They are adorable.
Yo, I saw you too. Saturday morning. Saw you.
At football.
Yeah.
Can I have my thingy?
What?
All right, so C margin it says because this is from the answer book. Alex and Kelly are calculating the surface area of the rectangular prism shown. I want you to think about this for a minute.
Kelly?
Who's Kelly?
Alex
Kelly Blue Book?
and Emily, I guess. I don't know. I think Emily should be named Kelly apparently. Alex and Emily are calculating the surface area of the rectangular prism shown. Is either of them correct? Explain your reasoning. So maybe you could calculate the surface area and then see what you think about Alex and Emily. Quietly, by yourself, for a moment. I'm going to do it on my little paper here.
Maybe it was your chase. Oh, wow. That was your stomach? Yeah, I thought it was going. Your stomach just weird.
What do you think, Eric?
I think it's 94, 50 squared. I think they're both wrong.
What do you think they did? Does anybody think they're right?
No, it's just Kelly. I got 94 as well. How'd you go? I think they both wrong too.
Yeah, what do you think Alex did?
She done messed up.
She multiplied weirdly.
Yeah, it could be a guy. So 5 times 3 would be like this, right? 5 times 3.
Yeah.
And then she multiplied by 6 spaces. So why is that?
So she basically said that this right here was all 6, 7.
Yeah, I think Alex said all 6 sides were going to be 5 by 3, and that's not true, right? All 6 faces not the same. What about Emily? Where do you think this came from? 5 times 4 times 3. What do you think?
I actually have a question. Whenever you're trying to find the, it's like, because the equations, SABH plus 2B, how, is the perimeter 5 plus 4 plus 3?
No, the perimeter is, the capital P stands for the perimeter of the base.
So it's,
So it'd be 5 plus 4 plus 5 plus 4.
okay.
Okay?
We got the 5 times 4 times 3 from the, like, sides. No.
Yeah. If this 2 wasn't here and you did 5 times 4 times 3, what's that?
Volume.
That's volume, right? That's the area of the base times the height. I don't know where that 2 came from, but
Well, because there's
It came in.
2 of them?
the line above on the above. I mean, I'm assuming you're on the line.
Yeah.
But I think
This is what it feels like to be a teacher when I'm grading papers and I'm trying to figure out what the heck they did and how many points partial credit I should give them. But this is not right either. I would say, I think Emily somehow thought that was, like, somehow got confused and was using volume.
And she thought volume times 2.
I would probably put, this will probably put question marks next to their paper. That's what I would do. So the actual, so I did it my way. I did 2 times 5 times 4 for the base. And then 2 times 5 times 3 for the front and the back. And then 2 times 3 times 4 for the ends.
Why does it do that?
And I got 94 also. Did anybody do it the other way? The PH2B? Is that what you're doing right now? Did you do the PH?
I just put the equation down and then I was trying to figure out.
You should get the same answer, but. Okay. So, here's your homework. You're going to be doing, I think you did these same numbers already, right? But you did volume 22, 23?
Yeah.
But now you're just doing surface area? And then 27, 31, and 41. And I think 27 is just like 28, where we were talking about the cube. But now it's surface area, so maybe you got to think backwards again. Tomorrow we'll go over questions. We'll have a homework quiz over volume and surface area. And then we're going to review for chapter 1 tests. Since this is our first test, this isn't always going to happen, but since this is our first test, we will review tomorrow and Wednesday. Wednesday we'll like go over the review and maybe do a little bit of extra reviewing, and then we'll take our test on Thursday. Sometimes we might have a review and then a test next day, which we'll put on you to come and see me a lot more for questions. But since this is our first one, we'll do that. Also, next week midterms come out, so we will have only had 1 test by the time midterms come out. So just kind of keep that in mind as well next week.
I don't want to. Remember.
I distracted you.